Address him as your highness. Silana gave him a mocking smile, and then returned her attention to the prince. Dorian Hevillard, to her surprise, laughed. You do know that you're now a slave, don't you? Has your sentence taught you nothing? Had her arms been unshackled, she would have crossed them. I don't see how working in a mine can teach anything beyond how to use a pickaxe. And you never tried to escape? A slow, wicked smile spread across her lips. Once. The prince's brows rose, and he turned to Captain Westfall. I wasn't told that. Silana glanced over her shoulder at Chow, who gave his prince an apologetic look. The chief overseer informed me this afternoon that there was one incident. 3 months. 4 months, she interrupted. 4 months, Chow said, after Sardathian arrived. She attempted to flee. She waited for the rest of the story, but he was clearly finished. That's not even the best part. That's the best part? The Crown Prince said, face caught between a wince and a smile. Chow glared at her before speaking. There's no hope of escaping from Endovier. Your father made sure that each of Endovier's sentries could shoot a squirrel from 200 paces away. To attempt to flee is suicide. But you're alive, the prince said to her. Silana's smile faded as the memory struck her. Yes. What happened? Dorian asked. Her eyes turned cold and hard. I snapped. That's all you have to offer as an explanation for what you did, Captain Westfall demanded. She killed her overseer and 23 sentries before they caught her. She was a finger's tip from the wall before the guards knocked her unconscious. So, Dorian said. Silana seethed. So, do you know how far the wall is from the mines? He gave her a blank look. She closed her eyes and sighed dramatically. For my shaft, it was 363 feet. I had someone measure. So, Dorian repeated. Captain Westfall, how far do slaves make it from the mines when they try to escape? 3 feet, he muttered. Endovier sentries usually shoot a man down before he's moved 3 feet. The Crown Prince's silence was not her desired effect. You knew it was suicide, he said at last, the amusement gone. Perhaps it had been a bad idea for her to bring up the wall. Yes, she said, but they didn't kill you. Your father ordered that I was to be kept alive for as long as possible, to endure the misery that Endovier gives in abundance. A chill that had nothing to do with the temperature went through her. I never intended to escape. The pity in his eyes made her want to hit him. Do you bear many scars? Asked the prince. She shrugged, and he smiled, forcing the mood to lift as he stepped from the dais. Turn around and let me view your back. Silana frowned, but obeyed as he walked to her. Charles stepping closer. I can't make them out clearly through all this dirt, the prince said, inspecting what skin showed through the scraps of her shirt. She scowled, and scowled even more when he said, and what a terrible stench, too. When one doesn't have access to a bath and perfume, I suppose one cannot smell as finely as you, your highness. The Crown Prince clicked his tongue and circled her slowly. Chow and all the guards watched them with hands on their swords, as they should. In less than a second, she could get her arms over the prince's head and have her shackles crushing his windpipe. It might be worth it just to see the expression on Chow's face. But the prince went on, oblivious to how dangerously close he stood to her. Perhaps she could be insulted. From what I can see, there are 3 large scars, and perhaps some smaller ones. Not as awful as I expected, but, well, the dresses can cover it, I suppose. Dresses? He was standing so near that she could see the fine thread detail on his jacket, and smelled not perfume, but horses and iron. Dorian grinned. What remarkable eyes you have, and how angry you are. Coming within strangling distance of the Crown Prince of Adeline, son of the man who sentenced her to a slow, miserable death, her self-control balanced on a fragile edge, dancing along a cliff. I demand to know, she began, but the captain of the guard pulled her back from the prince with spine-snapping force. I wasn't going to kill him, you buffoon. Watch your mouth before I throw you back in the mines, the brown-eyed captain said. Oh, I don't think you'd do that. And why is that? Child replied. Dorian strode to his throne and sat down, his sapphire eyes bright. She looked from one man to another and squared her shoulders. Because there's something you want from me, something you want badly enough to come here yourselves. I'm not an idiot, though I was foolish enough to be captured. And I can see this is some sort of secret business. Why else would you leave the capital and venture this far? You've been testing me all this time to see if I'm physically and mentally sound. Well, I know that I'm still sane, and that I'm not broken, despite what the incident at the wall might suggest. So I demand to be told why you're here, and what services you wish of me, if I'm not destined for the gallows. The man exchanged glasses. Dorian steepled his fingers. I have a proposition for you. Her chest tightened. Never, not in her most fanciful dreams, had she imagined that the opportunity to speak with Dorian Villiard would arise. She could kill him so easily, tear that grin from his face. She could destroy the king, as he had destroyed her. But perhaps his proposition could lead to escape. If she got beyond the wall, she could make it. Run and disappear into the mountains, and live in solitude in the dark green of the wild, with a pine needle carpet and a blanket of stars overhead. She could do it. She just needed to clear the wall. She had come so close before. "I'm listening," was all she said.